Want to make sure you make progress with your financial goals this year? It's time to get a financial checklist and check off all those money to-dos off your list. There are certain financial to-dos that you should be doing every year, and these aren't just to check a box and say you did it, but it's really to make sure your money's doing what you want it to do and you know what it's doing. We're going to cover those in this video. First on the list, review the status of all of your financial accounts. You want to know what your assets are, what your debt is, everything. I know sometimes it's really hard to gather all that paperwork together and look at it and face reality. You don't really want to face the facts, but you can't make a change until you know where you are. So figure out how much credit card debt you have, how much student loans, is there a mortgage, where is the money coming in, where is it going out, or where does it need to go out? Look at all of your accounts just to get a better idea of where you're starting the year. Next, review your prior year's spending. Hopefully you've been tracking your spending. I use Mint to track all of my spending throughout the year, but you can use whatever financial tracking tool or software that you like to do it. Some people like spreadsheets. I will tell you right now, I'm never writing down everything I spend. Never writing down everything I spend. It has to be done digitally for me or it's not happening, which is also why I don't spend cash, because I'm gonna forget to write it down. Know thyself, right? Like really taking control of your finances means knowing who you are and how you spend your money. Are you the kind of person that can make a budget and stick to it? A lot of us, including me, aren't. But if you look at your spending for last year and you didn't like where your money was going, or if it felt kind of out of control, now's the best time to create a budget for the new year and make sure you have a better idea of where your money's going. Try to stick to that budget as much as you can so that when you're in this position next year, it's not a big shock again. One of the really important things about making a budget is to make sure it's realistic. And that's why I want you to track your spending first. If your spending and your budget are not related at all, right? One's here, one's there, it's very unlikely that you're going to stick to that budget. You really, if you spent, I don't know, $30,000 on shoes last year, you're not gonna spend $500 this year. Right? If it's not realistic, it's going to be very, very hard for you to stick to it. Now look at your budget categories and look at what you have at home and see if there are items that you don't want anymore. The first place I always look are subscriptions, right? Are there subscriptions I've been paying for that I don't need to pay for anymore? I don't use them as much as I thought I would, or I forgot to cancel them, but I stopped using them. Get rid of them. The other thing I like to do is to decide on a couple of categories that I'm not going to spend money on for the year. This year is going to be a challenging year for me because I decided I'm not spending money on clothes, on shoes, on makeup, or on skincare. I have enough. Like if I run out of moisturizer, I'll buy more, but I don't need to buy a 6th matte red lipstick, right? Like, I have enough. Take a look at your savings and investing goals for the year. If you don't have any, it's time to make some. Now, if you're not sure where to start, I'm going to be coming out pretty soon with a video about how I make my financial goals for the year, and that should help you figure it out. Once again, you really want to be realistic, and so you need a plan that looks at what you did this year, what income you're planning on having, all of those things. And so this is one of those things where looking back at what you did in the prior year will help you this year. We're gonna get to this more in depth in another video. All right, now it's time to face your debt. We're talking about it. If you have debt, do you have a debt repayment plan as well? Are you avoiding new debt? That was always the hardest part for me. I would pay down a credit card a little bit and then buy some more stuff. And then I'd pay down a credit card a little bit and I'd buy some more stuff. And so it was just like, the numbers weren't really changing. Sometimes they were going up, sometimes they were going down, sometimes they were going up again. Because when I was in my debt repayment phase, I was still spending money like I didn't have the debt. And it's very common for people to do that. You get in the habit of spending at a certain amount and it's hard to ratchet that down. But it's time. If you want to get serious about paying off your debt this year, it's time to look at that. It's time to figure out how much debt you have and how much you can pay off. Now, different debt repayment plans are going to work for different people. Some people prefer the snowball method where they pay off the smallest debt first and then they continue on to the next smallest or next largest, next largest, next largest, right? And then some people prefer the avalanche method where you pay off the highest interest rate debt first. Whatever makes sense for you and feels attainable, start that. Start that this year, right? If paying off debt is your focus, put as much money towards the method that you choose for the rest of the year. And picking one method and sticking to it is really going to give you a great feeling of achievement. You're really going to be able to see the progress as opposed to kind of switching around and paying things off haphazardly. And seeing progress will make you want to continue to see progress. There's some psychology behind it. Once you pay off one debt, you want to pay off the next one more, right? Like, it feels good. It feels possible. Because sometimes when you're in debt, it feels like it's impossible to get out. But when you start shoveling your way out, it starts to feel a lot more possible and a lot better. Have you paid off debt with the debt repayment method? Did you try Avalanche or Snowball? Was there one that worked really well for you and one that didn't work? Let me know in the comments below which method you prefer. Next on the list, we're going to face it. We're going to check our credit. If you're in the US, you can check your credit report at annualcreditreport.com. You can get one credit report a year from each of the big three credit reporting services. So I like to get one every 4 months. Just get a new one. And I put those dates on my calendar. I mark them on my calendar, but it's time to get a new one, right? Like, and then, So that way, if there's anything on my credit report that I'm not expecting to see, it's not like I pulled all 3 in January and then I won't be able to pull another free one until the next January. Every 4 months, I can see what's on my credit report. And if there's anything there that's not supposed to be there, it's time to get it corrected, right? I'm not one that's going to tell you to spend a lot of time worrying about your credit score. I think it's mostly I'd like it to be mostly meaningless, right? But I think that you want to make sure the information that's being reported about you is accurate, because as much as your credit report and your credit score shouldn't matter in the way it does in America, it's the system we're working in. It does matter. Next on the list, start collecting your tax documents. I usually start in April. My accountants hate me. So don't be like me, right? Start in January. I am going to, this month, start making sure that all of my transactions in Mint and in QuickBooks, which I use for my business side, are properly categorized, that there's nothing missing, that if I need to be reimbursed for something, I'm getting reimbursed now, so that everything moves smoothly. And when I get all of the documents I need from third parties, like 1099s, I can just ship those off to my accountant and be done with it. Okay? We're really getting to work here. Now I want you to rebalance your investments if you haven't done it before, or if you haven't done it in the past few months. Look at what you're investing in if you're investing in the stock market, and see if you're investing in what you want to be invested in, right? Like, look at everything and see if your investments still support your goals. What are your financial goals this year? Is what you're invested in supporting your goals? Are you investing too conservatively? Are you investing too aggressively? Now is a great time to look at that and make some tweaks and changes. If you invest through a third party, maybe it's a time to pick up the phone and call them and talk to them about what you're doing, what you could be doing differently, what you could be doing better, and see if they have any ideas. I'll be in Vanguard doing it myself. I'll be looking at my account to figure out, is what I'm invested in really what I want to do, based on the history of the past year, based on what I plan to do with my money this year, based on what I want to do with my money over the next 5 years, as I will talk about in another video about my financial plans for the future. Another one that people often forget about is to review your beneficiaries on any assets or any life insurance. My Vanguard accounts have beneficiaries. I check on it every couple of years to make sure that the people I said I want the money to go to are still who I want the money to go to. Hi, Mom. Some things change, right? And so, all the time, people's money ends up going to somebody they divorced and they forgot to make the changes. You don't want that, right? Like, you want to stay on top of your money so that even if something happens to you, everything happens after you're gone the way you want it to. Last on the list, review your contributions to any employer-sponsored retirement plan. Are you putting the right amount of money in? Are you getting the max of the company match? Could you put more in? If you got a raise, are you able to put more money in the account? Are you able to also invest more outside of your employer plan if you got a raise? Or do you have more money to invest? You should be looking at that in the section where I told you to review your investments and savings. That's something to look at there as well. These are the things I think you should be looking at every January when you figure out what you want to do with your money, like what your year looks like. As we make goals, as we make dreams, a lot of people say like, oh, I want to make this amount of money, but they don't necessarily say what they want to do with the money. And I find that hitting a goal is a lot easier when I know what I'm going to do with it. I know where that money is going. It's easier for me to make the money because it's not just like, I picked a number out of the sky. It's like, no, I picked a number and this is where the numbers, this is the other math behind the number. Right? The math behind the number helps me a lot when I want to figure out what my goal for income for the year is. My financial goals help me a lot in figuring that out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you hit all of your financial goals this year. If you liked this video, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this in the future, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and I'll see you next time. Bye.